Scott, I want to be one of the first to officially welcome you and your family to Charlotte and to the Panthers organization. Pretty cool welcome back there with your name on the big board.
That's really cool right there.
So that's actually where I want to start, as we have this beautiful view. I imagine the last 2 weeks have been an absolute whirlwind for you.
It has been. I got a call last Sunday from Mr. Tepper, and after he'd asked permission. And then we talked briefly on the phone that night. He said, okay, you want to talk in the morning? We'll do a Zoom interview at that point. So I jumped on the call in the morning, and it was a pretty intense call. I mean, a lot of good questions, a lot of deep probing questions, and it's one of those things you hang up and you're like, okay, I don't know how that went. You don't really have a feel for it. And then that night they sent a flight, and they asked me if I wanted to come fly to Charlotte and interview in person. Jumped on a flight the next morning at 7 a.m., got down here, had to run a couple errands real quick. I didn't bring everything for an interview, so I had to run out and do some things. And then got back, studied a little bit that night, came in the morning, and met Coach Rule, met Mr. Tepper. Stephen Drummond was virtual at that time, and really felt comfortable once I sat down with them. We started talking, and the exchange of information, the philosophies, the ideas, what we want to do, it all came together. It was really exciting. All of a sudden I'm down here. I had a few days, packed up as much as I could, threw it in a suitcase, and came down here.
I love you saying that about having to go to the store when you land and make sure you have the right clothes, because I've done that before. We've all done that, but it's the little things that you don't think about.
Well, I was talking a little bit earlier, COVID has been tough, so I went to put on a suit, and it was a little bit tight. So I was going to wear a pair of slacks and a sport coat, and I got down here, I'm like, this is an interview. I need to do it right. So I ran to Nordstrom, and they set me up with a nice suit, came in, put it on. Next day I was set and ready to go. So
it all worked out perfectly.
I think it's part of being a road scout. You learn to adjust on the road and,
yes,
and make the best of what you have.
Yes, as a sideline reporter for years, I've been in those situations too. You're like, all right, we got to figure this out right now. Got to be presentable.
That's right.
You talked about everything when you had that in-person meeting coming together and feeling really good about that. What is that dynamic like between you and Coach Rule and David Tepper as you get started?
Well, I think one of the first questions they asked me is, what is my philosophy? And then we got into acquisition and being aggressive and the vision of our team. And really, Coach Rule has been here, and he knows what he wants his team to look like. And I'm here to find the players that he wants. It's also my job to challenge him, and, on players that we're bringing in, and really just have a really thought-provoking conversations, put our egos aside, and really focus on what's best for the team. How are we going to build a championship caliber team here that can win over a sustained period of time? And once we got into that, things were flowing, and Mr. Tepper is very committed to this, and we just had a great conversation, felt very comfortable at that time.
You talked about your philosophy. I want to dig a little bit deeper in that. You spent 20 years with the Seahawks, rising through the ranks to become one of the most important people in that organization. What did you learn over that time, and being as involved as you were with that organization, about success and the way that you want to help build the Panthers?
Well, when I started, I was an area guy, so you learned just the scouting part of it. But really, the growth really took place once John Schneider and Pete Carroll came in. And then they had such a strong, inclusive philosophy, no ego, everybody being on the same page. And it was such a clear vision that we were all able to buy in. And, to have a mentor like John, and how he's just himself. He's really allowed us to grow. He's developed us. He's included us in a lot of things that he doesn't need to include us in order to educate us on the different parts of running an organization. His big thing is there is no scout school, there's no GM school. So he takes it upon himself to share what he's learning. He includes us in the free agent process, decisions on how he's handling the cap, all those different things. And so really just the inclusiveness of it, the growth mindset, the development of his staff, and that's what we want to include here.
You have all of those skills, but you've been known for many years as someone who is a great talent evaluator, great drafter. Can you talk to me about your philosophy when it comes to the draft?
Well, it's all about acquisition. Just finding guys that fit your team, that fit your style of play. But really, after a certain skill set level, You have to be an internally driven, competitive, smart, tough, reliable player. That's what we're looking for. That's the filter that we're going to work through with our staff, and really put an emphasis on that. Because once they get here, we want to develop these guys. We want to get the right people in here that want to be a part of something special.
I love what you just said about the intrinsic qualities. You played baseball. You were drafted in the 22nd round by the Blue Jays. You traveled in minor leagues. Do you think that going through that experience yourself and really grinding has influenced at all the way you look for those players that some people might miss?
You know what? Sitting on a bus, driving in the middle of the night, you can lose focus, like, oh, this is so hard. But I enjoyed it so much. I enjoyed being around the guys. And the hardest part is you need to keep focused on what the goal is, because the big league seems so far away when you're on a bus up in upstate New York. And so really you got to find guys that love it, and guys that are willing to just kind of push themselves and go outside their comfort zone, and all those little things, just, how to stay to be resilient and stay focused. Those are the things you learn sitting on a bus at 2 a.m., trying to figure out what am I doing. But I loved every minute of it, and I love the guys I was with.
When you look at this Panthers team, when you started, as you said, digging in, and now that you're here, what excites you, and what are you looking to build on?
Yeah, I think what excites me is just the passion that, Mr. Tepper's bringing to this, his commitment to winning, the exchange of ideas. He's got his pulse on this team. He knows exactly what's going on. And the expectations are very clear. So having great ownership was one. Having a head coach that has a very clear philosophy and a style about himself. He's a really well respected, league-wide. I've got so many calls about, hey, I'm so happy for you. What an awesome coach he's going to be. And really, I didn't know him 2 weeks ago. And so it was very much like John and Pete. They didn't know each other at the beginning. And over the past 2 weeks, between phone calls, between Mr. Tepper, coach, myself, we've really kind of come together. And it feels very natural now after not, in 2 weeks, it's really come together. And then third, the other attractive part of this was coming to Charlotte. We played here a couple years ago, and I stand on the sideline right over here, and you can feel the energy in the city. You can, the fans that coming in on the buses. It's such a great environment, great city. I know my wife and kids were really excited. So all of it just came together, and it's a perfect opportunity.
We're all excited to have you here. Thank you so much again. As I said, I know it's been busy. We appreciate you sitting down and taking the time.
Thank you for having me.